I'm gonna throw this in there only because I never understand this. But no matter who it is, guy or girl, if they're sick, they always think of their mom first. Never the dad, always the mom. I see it on sports, somebody gets a touchdown, it's always the mom. He gets all the compliments. Can you put up Exhibit 788?
All right. Please be seated.
Okay, we're ready to continue, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, if I could just inquire, in terms of the jury questions, you intend to ask them right away or wait until?
Right away to the end. I mean, typically that's what we do.
After cross-examination?
Typically that's what we do.
Yeah, we're doing more too.
How much more time do we have to direct?
Just have a few more questions.
Your Honor, will Scott Rasmussen on behalf of Hanna Instruments would like to lodge an objection that during the time that the court was talking to the stand, that Mr. Kemp approached the witness on the stand, and I understand that he's under oath right now. And under the EBCR, it may be inappropriate to talk to the witness while he's still on the stand, and away from the judge or the reporter to that anything that was said by them to him while he is waiting on the stand and still under oath.
What do I do with that?
As we talked about scheduling, and I pointed out to the witness that I thought this examination was going to be continuing a little longer. That's all the discussion was. I'm not doing the examination.
Well, what did Eric say to him?
I just, in light of the objection, told them not to bring up the customer complaint issue.
All rise for the jury.
Right, do the parties stipulate to the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Okay, and so it's my understanding you're going to continue on, Mr. Pepperman, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Nodrum, just a couple more questions for you. Does hydrazine have a smell?
Yes, as a chemical, hydrazine has a smell.
Can you describe that smell?
It's a nitrogen-rich chemical. It has an ammonia type smell or a fishy type smell.
Can hydrazine be visible in water?
If it's fully dissolved, no. If it is not fully dissolved, then it could be visible, yes.
And what would the appearance look like?
It would be an oily sheen that is separate from the water.
Thank you, Dr. Nodrum. Those are all the questions I have.
All right, cross-examination.
Good morning, Dr. Naja. My name is Matt Kaufman. I'm an attorney for Real Water. I just have a couple of follow-up questions for you. I'm going to be very brief. One of the things you touched on in your report was the breakdown of hydrogen, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm just going to, for the jury, and just to set this up, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit. Hydrazine is made from 2 nitrogen and 2 hydrogen, correct?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
2 hydrogens, 2 nitrogens and 4 hydrogens.
Well, that would be my mistake. I wrote it down incorrectly in my notes. Thank you for correcting me, doctor. When you put hydrazine into water, according to your report, it breaks down into an N2 molecule and an H2O molecule, correct?
No,
What does it break down into?
it does not break down. It dissolves in water as hydrazine.
Okay. Would hydrogen peroxide be a byproduct of hydrazine in water?
No.
Okay. And that's all the questions I have for you, Doctor.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Najim.
Good morning.
My name is Scott Rasmussen. I represent Hanna Instruments. We've never met before, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Your deposition was taken on May 19, 2023 of this year. Do you remember that? Taking your deposition?
I remember the deposition, not the date.
Would you disagree with me on that date? I said, it's like right here on page 1, it says May 19th, and you dispute that?
I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you. You've said some things today I wanted to get out from your deposition. One of the questions that was asked, and I'll make this.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, let me just object, and I apologize, sir. Your Honor, you don't introduce deposition testimony that way. That is used to impeach or to rebut, or to refresh a recollection. You don't introduce a deposition by telling testimony unless there's a need to refresh, rebut, or impeach.
Thank you.
All right, I understand, Mr. Parker.
Can you tell me what the word caustic means?
Caustic is a description of a chemical that has a very high pH.
Do you remember your deposition testimony with regard to caustic?
I do not remember.
May I refresh your recollection by providing for you the question and answer you gave with regard to caustic properties?
You asked to refresh? That's the proper way to do it, Mr.
I was gonna head with that.
You're fine. I don't know if he's asking to publish the deposition at this point, Your Honor, but that would be the next step.
Then, as Mr. Parker would like, I'll go ahead and would like to publish the deposition of Dr. Najim.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. None from Ms. Robbins. Publication granted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Page 24 of your deposition, the following question is asked. Now, this stage of the process where you have just a negative water,
This is not the way, Mr. Parker tried to explain this. If he wants to show the witness and have him read it silently to himself, and then ask the question.
I understand. And plus, we have to know what she's doing right now.
okay, I'll wait. Can you get that? Shane's got it.
Can you switch over?
We have it. We should have. We have a lot of depositions over here. Is that correct, Lori?
That's correct.
He's gotta get it.
Does she have it?
I'm not bringing it up. Don't, yeah, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Do we have his original deposition?
She doesn't have it.
Use anything to refresh his recollection. You got a copy, you understand.
You don't have a problem with you approaching if you need to, provide a court allows you to do so, of course.
Thank you, Your Honor. Court's permission, I'm going to show you.
Your Honor, we object to this.
You don't want me to touch up or approach?
No, it was on the screen.
I didn't.
You didn't do that. Mr. Pepperman was just making sure that your AV person didn't put it on the screen.
And I'll just try to approach one more time. Looking at page 24, you see a question there at line 3. Can you read that to yourself, please?
Question.
Just can you read it to yourself, please? Let me know when you're done reading it.
Okay. done reading.
Did you read your answer next?
To myself?
Just to yourself, because otherwise I'll probably get an objection.
I read the answer.
Thank you, Dr. Najim. I'll go ahead and take that from you unless you'd like to have it here, unless you want to look on the front side and the back side and see what context you gave that answer. Does it refresh your recollection, having given you that document, which is a portion of your transcript, your answer to that question? Does it refresh your recollection, sir?
I do not remember the questions and the answers from several months ago, so it is in the deposition record, so I understand that that was my answer at the time.
Okay. You don't dispute that?
I have no reason to dispute that.
Thank you. All right. The question had to deal with caustic properties, correct?
No,
Okay. Does your answer have anything about the word caustic properties in it?
no,
I'm sorry. Let me see if the word caustic property appears in your answer.
it is asking, the question is asking as to whether in a certain location in the process,
Okay.
it had caustic property. So the question was about the location, not about the caustic property.
Fair enough. And you gave an answer that at a certain location, caustic properties were in the process of manufacturing the real water product.
May I elaborate on the location, Your Honor?
Yeah, I'm happy to let you.
It's the court's, he asked the question of the court.
I mean, is there an objection?
I no objection.
Just want to make sure.
No objection on plaintiff.
Sir, you may proceed.
Thank you. In that battery model that I showed in the titanium tubes, on the cathode side, the chemical reactions that happened will raise the pH of that water on that side. And that's what we refer to as is going to increase its caustic properties.
What does caustic properties mean?
It means higher pH.
Thank you. Can you show me, Shane, if you've got it, one of you two has got that exhibit that we showed with his sketch from his report. It's already been,
Is the big one you're talking about, Orion, right there in front of you?
it's the board right there, yeah, you want me to go dig it?
Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want.
You want to shake it for that?
I'd like to.
Should be 787.
787 is what I'm looking, can you do it? Oh, Mark's got it then. Dr. Nazim, would you be so kind as to show me, well, we have it up on the board right now, and I'm gonna go to step 1, I believe. You, if you need to, you've got a pointer still, sir?
I do, but I ask that you go to the battery picture. This does not show it.
The battery picture, okay? I will go to the battery picture. Can we show the battery picture?
I apologize. Not that battery, the schematic, the sketch of the cathode and anode and where the chemical, the hydrazine is formed.
So go back to 787.
That was a demonstrative aid in the PowerPoint.
Would it be best to move that over to Shane so we could show that?
Which one do you want?
It's this, the slide with the anode and the cathode.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Is this the particular slide you wanted to see?
Yes, it
Dr.
is.
Najim? Okay, we've got you there. We were talking about caustic properties and where the locations would be. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Does this slide help you show that to the jury?
Yes.
Can you please show that to the jury now?
On this cathode side, this is the negative side. You see this OH minus here, OH minus here, OH minus here. This is caustic. This is what raises the pH of water. So as these reactions take place, these ions are produced, and that's what raises the pH of the water.
What is pH?
pH is a measure of the acidity or causticity of a water.
Okay. Is causticity also another word for it sometimes used in the scientific community, alkaline.
It is related to it, but it's not that way. It's not a pH only means alkaline, and alkaline only means high pH.
So pH could be acidic. You said that word, right?
Correct.
And it can measure acidic, correct?
Correct.
And if it measures caustic, you can also do that, correct?
Correct.
And you're saying is that one way of saying it, but sometimes you don't use it, is the word alkaline.
Alkaline refers to the combination of this caustic component
Yes?
and carbonate and bicarbonate. So alkaline includes more than just a caustic pH.
And you identified earlier a particular chemical, potassium hydroxide.
Correct.
Correct?
Potassium hydroxide.
Right. That's an alkaline material.
That is a caustic chemical,
And caustic, what was your definition?
high pH chemical.
Could it also be something that's able to burn or corrode organic tissue by chemical action?
If applied as a pure chemical, yes.
Can you please describe for me the word pure chemical?
Yes. pH is a scale almost like the Richter scale of earthquakes.
Okay.
We consume water that has a pH between 6 to 9. The higher the pH, the more caustic, and the lower the pH, the more acidic beyond those ranges. So if you take a water that is very acidic, a pH of 1, that is acid, that burns your skin. Along the same lines, you take a water or chemical that's got a pH of 14 and 15, that will also burn your skin. So it is about the pH of the product, whether it's water or a chemical solution, that determines whether it's amenable for human consumption at a certain value or becomes hazardous by being too extreme on either side.
Citric acid is an acidic that can be measured by means of a pH test. Is that correct, doctor?
You don't measure citric acid, you measure the pH
Of the citric
of
acid.
the citric acid.
Right, it's a measuring device.
It's a measuring method
Okay.
of the acidity or causticity of a liquid product.
Citric acid, or is can be found in fruits that are citrus fruits, right?
Correct,
Citrus fruits are like lemons. Is that fair?
correct,
Oranges,
correct,
limes,
correct,
grapefruit.
correct.
Okay. Those are citrus fruits and they contain citric acid. Is that a fair statement?
They contain dilute citric acid, yes.
And humans can consume those acids from those fruits.
Correct, because the pH of citric acid is about 5.5, maybe 6.
Hydrazine is caustic. Is that correct?
No,
Hydrazine is not caustic? Hydrazine is not an alkaline material?
hydrazine is a pure chemical that does not have pH properties.
Let me ask you again, is hydrazine alkaline in its nature?
No,
It's not at all.
it would have to have alkaline components in the chemical mixture to make it alkaline as a solution, but it has nothing to do with the fact that it's hydrazine.
Okay. Were there alkaline components in the concentrate that was being manufactured or created by real water?
There were the hydroxyl radical, those hydroxide ions, which are the caustic components of that side of the water.
And then
yes.
alkaline, and then hydrazine was also created as a part of that, correct? In that manufacturing process.
That is my belief as to where hydrazine was formed, yes.
Can I please have the slide that you believe shows where those materials are that are caustic? Can you explain to either Shane or Mark, is it 787, that's the exhibit number where it shows that?
I'm not object is vague and ambiguous.
I'm just asking Dr. Najim to make sure I have the right one as opposed to going through it again. Is this the one that's going to show us the caustic? Is it a different slide?
I'll submit it, go ahead. You can
It's
ask
the
us.
slide that I discussed a little earlier, so you want to go back
So
to that
it's
same
the other
slide?
one, the demonstrative one.
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to that one.
Shane has that one.
We'll have to put it up for you.
And these are the four that you talked about here.
Those OH minuses,
Okay.
that's the caustic, that's what raises the pH of that water.
All right. So, and each one of them here that I'm looking at, here's the negative, negative, negative. Did I point that out correctly?
Correct.
And next to it is nitrogen, correct?
That's hydrazine.
N2H4 here, two molecules of nitrogen, which is N2, and then H4, right?
That chemical is hydrazine.
Right. And in this state, with this caustic, it becomes, it's an alkaline material.
No, I don't want you to put words in my mouth.
I'm not trying to.
So let me explain.
Go ahead.
There are chemical reactions happening here
Okay.
that produce 5 different things.
Okay.
One is hydrazine,
Mhm.
one is caustic characteristics.
Okay.
The two are not associated with each other.
NH3, isn't that ammonia?
That is ammonia.
And H2, what's that?
Hydrogen gas.
All right, so I've got hydrazine, ammonia, and hydrogen gas, right?
Correct.
Should a person ever consume hydrazine, in your opinion?
No.
Should a person ever consume ammonia?
We consume ammonia a lot.
All the time, right? And hydrogen gas, we can consume from the atmosphere.
Hydrogen gas is a flammable explosive gas, so this would be vented out into the atmosphere.
Okay.
Can we break right now? Can we vote?
Yeah, we can. Yes, I apologize. I knew that we needed to. Sorry.
And ladies and gentlemen, and this goes this way throughout the entire trial, from time to time, counsel and the trial teams might have other matters they might have to address in other courts. And so if they leave the courtroom out of disrespect to you, as a lack of concern as far as the case is concerned, sometimes they just have to leave for a few minutes and another matter may come back. And that's been both for the defense and for the plaintiff, so I just want to let you know that. All right, but we want to keep continuing because we don't want to sit around, right?
Yep, I'll continue until you tell me to stop.
Okay, well, we'll see how far you have to get first. See how long. We'll continue on.
In your deposition, I'm just gonna say that, but please go ahead. It's been published, there are several references to the fact that during the manufacturing process, Real Water conducted pH testing. Is that true from what you saw?
That is my understanding.
pH testing and determine what, in your opinion?
That means the pH of the water.
What pH, can that stand for potential for hydrogen?
Hydrogen potential, that's a reason.
I said it the wrong way, but
That's fine.
this P is in the beginning and hydrogen's at the end. So it's potential for hydrogen, what I said.
To be clear, that is not an abbreviation of the expression potential for
I
hydrogen,
agree.
but it is what it is. Because, and the reason they do that is that they had in their specifications a target pH of the product that they put out.
There's a video of this. being done. Can we show that video? It's already been pre-admitted into evidence, I believe it's exhibit 250. And let's add, Tori, make sure that it's already been pre-admitted.
I don't have it as being.
Scott?
Go
7013.
7013, my mistake. I thought I heard it was 250, but maybe I was off.
Is that
The video.
okay, I don't have that as admitted.
It was a matter of motion.
Not much to do. No, go ahead.
We can have a stipulation for sure, right?
No problem, Your Honor.
No, it's actually from the
I thought it was part of the stipulation or a motion already.
It is.
Well, if it is, then it's admitted.
Okay, well, I thought that was the.
All right, we good? I'll tell, who's got the video? This will be quick. Okay, so Mark, when I tell you to stop, stop. Okay, can you put on the volume, please? Let's go back. Can you start it again, Mark, in the beginning? Let's see if we've got it working now. Marie, do you need me to take that remote?
For ORP of the road water E2 concentrate product. The first thing that's very important that you want to make sure is that your ore meter is properly calibrated. And I'd like to take a minute and show you how to properly calibrate your ore meter. If your ore meter is not reading negative values very well, or is giving you inconsistent readings, that means that it needs to be properly calibrated.
Can you stop?
Actually, this is a 12, 15-minute video. This part has nothing to do with it.
And I will not go through the whole video, Mr. Kemp. Let me ask this one question. Have you ever seen this video before?
No, I have not.
Okay, do you know who this person is?
I don't believe so.
Other than the portion that is read below, do you now know who this person is?
I have read his deposition.
Okay. And did you see his deposition? There's
No.
two ways to see it. One is to read it, one is to watch it.
No, I read it.
Okay. And so you read the deposition of Blaine Jones?
Correct.
Okay, now we can continue. That's it.
And I'd like to make sure is that your ore meter
Yeah, put it right up.
I want it to be here.
Dr. Eugene, in your direct testimony today, you looked at a bunch of cups on the side of the sink. Do you remember that?
Yes, I saw it.
Do you believe that's where the ORP meters readings were done?
Either ORP meter readings or pH readings, I don't know.
So the ORP meter testing could have been done later? You don't know?
I don't know when it was done.
Thank you. Did you ever personally examine the Milwaukee MW500 meter that was used by Real Water?
No, I did not.
Does an ORP meter read out the chemicals, like the chemicals we looked at here, in a solution?
ORP meter measures the electric charge of a water sample.
Can we go back to that anode one last time, Shane, and whoever's got it, the demonstration one? Okay. And the only thing that I'm worried about here, making sure that the jury is following, is up here at the top is the power source. You can see that. And I want to make sure, just so that everyone's got it clear, the power source we're doing is not an ORP meter, right?
That is correct.
Okay. The ORP meter has nothing to do with this part of the process.
Fair question.
Yes, the ORP meter has nothing to do with this part of the process. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. This ORP meter, can it read any of those chemicals that are over there?
An ORP meter is not used to measure the concentrations of these chemicals.
Okay? Can it tell a chemical in any solution?
It is not associated with measuring the concentration of a chemical.
Okay. My question. See an ORP meter, it just has a number in the display, right?
Correct.
Okay. Doesn't say chemical, whatever is used, right?
Correct.
Another testing equipment might be a spectrometer. Can that tell you through testing what the chemicals are in a solution?
It could, some chemicals.
Okay. Are there other testing equipment that can do that?
Do what?
Tell me the chemicals that are in the solution.
Different instruments are used to measure different chemicals, depends on the chemical.
Good. Can you give me a list of other devices that can do that?
There's an instrument called gas chromatograph that is used to measure some chemicals.
You said that hydrazine degrades over time, correct?
Correct.
Sometimes it can degrade within months, correct?
Within hours.
Days, then, as well?
If it degrades in hours, it degrades in days, months, years.
Could the hydrazine vary? Well, isn't it true that the hydrazine would vary if I put the concentrate, the E2 concentrate, made it, took it over, put it into the mixing tank, it would be the most powerful right then at that moment, correct?
At the time of production, correct.
Right, and then if I stored it, it would weaken as far as the amount of hydrogen because it degrades, correct?
Correct.
So if I, whatever it was the most powerful, right when I made it, I stuck it right into the mixing tank, it would degrade from that point forward in time, correct?
Correct.
You could test for that, but you wouldn't use an ORP meter to test hydrogen, correct?
I would not use an ORP meter to detect hydrogen.
You reviewed the FDA's investigation, you talked about that earlier today.
Correct.
Did you ever see that the FDA ever investigated the ORP meter?
I do not recall.
All the questions I have.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robbins?
I think I'll be brief, Your Honor.
Okay.
Let me squeeze in there. Good afternoon, Doctor. Just a couple of questions, just clarification, really. I don't need to put the chart in your diagram back up there, but that's what I'm referring to. The hydrazine in the manufacturing process is made in the production of negative water, what you call negative water, correct?
That is my belief.
Okay. And the negative water is produced in steps 1 and 2 out of those 4 boxes, correct?
Correct.
And it's your understanding, I believe you noted in there, that it's made, that this negative water where the hydrazine was manufactured is made 1 to 2 times per year, correct?
That is what I understood from the documents that I reviewed.
And it's my understanding that the ORP meter is not used in either step 1 or step 2, is that correct?
I do not know.
You do not know. Did you indicate that in your chart that it's used in either step 1 or step 2?
I did not indicate it in the chart.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
All right. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, before you go, Doctor, we have a couple of questions from the panel members. I just want to make sure we're fine on the questions. We'll look at them one more time. And ladies and gentlemen, do understand this. The fact that some questions get asked and others don't let that, for whatever reason, prevent you from saying, look, my question might have been a bad question. No, all questions are good questions. Some questions we don't ask because there might be an evidentiary ruling or might have made a decision prior to coming to trial on those issues. Or I might say it's not relevant. I just want you, I want you to make sure that if your question doesn't get asked, or all of your questions aren't asked, that doesn't stop you if you have other questions you want to ask of the witness from doing so. Everyone understand? Okay. So I think we have one question from Mr. Panel Member number 12, Mr. And here's a question, sir. Quote, what testing equipment would you use to check for hydrazine?
Sure. To be able to measure hydrazine in water, you have to run it through an instrument that has the proper detectors for it. And so typically, it's either what I referred to earlier, gas chromatograph with mass spectrometer, or a liquid chromatograph mass spectrometer. That's the kind of instruments it is. So you inject the sample in it, it goes through a number of processes, and there's a detector on the other side that measures the signal that comes off, and you translate that into a hydrazine concentration.
Okay, thank you, sir. And we have another question from juror number 3. And we're only asking part of the question. And so here's the question. Quote, was it just the concentrate, the 3 different samples measured and tested?
I only saw from the FDA 3 concentrate samples analyzed, and those are the ones that were reported with the hydrazine in them.
All right.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. And we have one more question from juror number 4. Quote, do all alkaline waters inherently run a similar risk of creating hydrazine? Period, close quote.
The short answer is no. It takes certain steps, certain chemical process, certain production process to generate that kind of chemistry. And so unless those are applied, you don't expect to see the same behavior.
All right, thank you. Those are all the questions we had from the jury. Any follow-up?
Yes, Your Honor, just a few. Dr. Nadram, with respect to your answer about the hydrazine being detected in the 3 different FDA samples tested, hydrazine was also detected in the retail bottles by the urethane testing. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
And based on your review of the manufacturing process, is the problem at Real Water creating hydrazine in the manufacturing process limited to those 3 samples, or would you expect to, if other samples have been tested, that those would contain hydrazine as well?
I have no reason to believe that those 3 samples were any special type samples. They were samples collected by the FDA during the investigation. All of them had hydrazine. So I have no reason to believe that any of other concentrate samples, had they been collected and analyzed, would also have hydrazine.
You have no reason to believe they would?
I'm sorry,
They
I have
wouldn't.
no reason to believe that they would not have hydrazine at those or higher levels. I don't know.
Thank you. And in your response to the question about the risk of generating hydrazine in other alkaline water production processes, did you review or are you familiar with any other alkaline water production methods from other bottling companies?
I know that other bottlers produce what they refer to as alkaline water, but they don't necessarily go through an electrolysis process. They simply add alkaline chemicals. So I'm familiar with those other types of claims on alkaline water.
If other water bottling companies utilize a similar production methodology as Real Water, would you have a concern about the generation of hydrazine?
Absolutely.
Thank you. No other.
Quick follow-up, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Odou.
Okay, go first, then, Joel.
Doctor, good afternoon, Joel Odou. Unfortunately, good afternoon. I'll be very brief. You described the process used to detect hydrazine. You described a gas I didn't get the word, I'm sorry. What was the
How about we say GCMS or LCMS? Is that right?
GCMS or an LCMS? What, can you describe those machines for a jury? Just in very, very big picture terms.
Sure. It's a machine that you inject the water sample in it. It goes in. The water sample literally gets vaporized. And there's the mass spec, that is the detector on the other side. It measures the specific fragments that are coming out. And there's a standardized procedure for how to translate that to how much hydrazine was in the sample that you injected into it.
And these are pretty sophisticated machines, right?
That is correct.
This isn't something that I can carry around the size of, a water bottle. This is a fairly substantial machine.
That is correct.
And where do they have them? Like at universities, testing laboratories, places like that?
Universities have them, testing laboratories have them, municipal water agencies have them.
Thank you.
I want to make it clear, the electrolysis process, Scott Rasmussen on behalf of Hanna, that you gave an answer to Mr. Pepperman's question, at Real Water involved the use of those titanium tubes, right?
I'm not saying that you have to use it.
I'm not either.
Okay, what?
At
there
Real
must be-
Water, they use titanium tubes, right?
That is my understanding.
All right, Mr. Robbins?
Nothing further from Milwaukee.
Is that it, Mr. Becker?
I believe so, Your Honor, thank you.
Sir, you are released.
Thank you.
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time for lunch. We'll take we'll recess right now and reconvene at 1:30. But remember, you're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with this trial, or to read, watch, or listen to any report or commentary on the trial, any persons connected with this case, or by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, radio, social media. I know you know about the prohibition. And last but not least, should not perform or express any opinion on any subject matter to the trial to the cause findings in the treaty. And so, Mr. Marshall.
Yes, sir, all rights to the portion of the jury, 1:30. Jury is clear, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we know the record. Nothing else, right? Wait.
Exhibit 40 or 340 or 440 is, what was it that you were intending to say?
Shane, what was the exhibit that we referenced?
So 439 and 440 are his reports, or I'm sorry, his articles that he wrote?
So it's 440 that's admitted, not 47.
Correct. And I believe Eric referred to it as 40 because he had already said 439.
Okay. And then, so, Mr. Rasmussen, you said that 7013 is pre-admitted. Are there any pre-admitted exhibits from defense that I need to know about?
Not that I'm
Can you
aware of.
give me a list, because I was not aware that that was admitted.
It was submitted by motion, the video.
I don't know that.
Oh, we were here when it was submitted, right, Eric? The
No,
video?
yes, but she needs to know for the purposes of the exhibit was.
Yeah, if something was admitted through previous motions, I have no way of knowing what that is. You could say it's a part of a depot, but I've got a 10,000
What we
exhibits,
could
I don't know
do,
what that
I
is.
would
Maybe
assume-
it's numbers.
Yeah, I assume there's an order that was produced as a result of the pre-admission.
They're all in the process, so I don't, many of them have been filed and notice of entry served, but I don't know where we're at on that.
What Mr. Pepperman did is perfect, but if there's anything else I need to know from you.
I think what we just did was, regardless of the pre-admission, we stipulated to the admission of that exhibit. Have they been admitted? Do we have that?
I have what your office filed, the 1 through 10, that's fine. But anything from them that's been pre-admitted through motions, I don't know what they are.
There was nothing from Milwaukee.
Okay.
Something from us.
Other
But there was-
than 7013?
Yes, and that was Mr. Kemp and I thought we got it on the record in front of the court during motions hearings that one was in.
I
If
don't
you
know
didn't
about-
hear, then I think there's a stipulation to allow it in. Mr. Kemp, is that correct, the Lane Jones video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's anything additionally, other than exhibits, plaintiff's exhibits 1 through 10, there are any other pre-admitted exhibits, I need those in a list, and 5.
Do you want me to send you a list in a filing about 7013?
We know it's been set on the record now, so,
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
We're in recess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Department 16. Yep. Please be seated.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, good afternoon. I hope you enjoyed lunch. Good afternoon, yes. I did. Is there anything outside the presence? No, you're not. It's Roger. Okay.
Well, you know, I'm gonna make a quick, have a quick question for the defendants, make sure we're on the same page. I'm not gonna use the majority of the medical records from Mr. Belski. In fact, I'm only gonna refer to one page, and it's the ALT, AST score. That's the only page. I don't think there's should be any opposition to that. But if there is, I can show you the page right now, so you can look at it on the screen. But that's the only exhibit I'm intending to use.
No objection.
Probably no objection, could you have him pull it up
Sure.
real quick, just so you can see it?
It's exhibit 714. I'm only going to use page 58. And so I would make that a separate exhibit since I'm pulling it out of the stack of medical records. So we'll probably do the next exhibit in order. What is the next exhibit in order?
788, plaintiff's 788.
So, Ms. Corey, that would be 788.
And what's the title of the document?
It is the UMC medical record for Mr. Belski. It actually comes from exhibit 714, page 58. I want to make it a separate document so we don't have the problem of having all the medical records in as a single exhibit.
Do you have the case number?
It's a lab test. It's the original exhibit is 714, which is right there at the bottom, page 58. So I want to make it now plaintiff's exhibit 788, which will be the next number. And we can print that page for you.
Can I see the date number again?
Yes. See it?
Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll print out a copy so you can have it right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's the only document we're going to use.
Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
All right. Are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes, John.
Is the entire defense team ready?
Yes, you are. I am.
Mr. Robbins, you ready?
Yes, my entire team is ready.
Okay. You're ready.
All right, to the jury.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope you enjoyed lunch. No idea. Right? So anyway, we're going to continue on with testimony. Is that correct, counsel?
That is correct, John.
And it's my understanding the plaintiff will be calling the next witness. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay.
Next, please, John.
Yes, you may.
Please call Mr. Belski.
Please walk your second through the census. Keep facing.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
May I have you state and spell your name for the record?
Richard Belski, Richard Belski.
Thank you.
Please be cautious as you sit down. Chairs on hold. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Belski, how are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Parker, doing well.
You've been sitting here for a week and a half as long as the jury's been here, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it's your first time in court?
For many, many, many years.
Let me have you introduce yourself to the jury. Where are you from? Where is that?
I'm originally from the Philadelphia area. Grew up outside of Philadelphia in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and then went on to college and the rest of my life.
Where'd you go to college?
University of Pittsburgh.
And after college, did you go and seek any additional post-undergraduate degrees or education?
I did. I went to and graduated law school.
Do you practice law?
I do.
You were smart enough not to.
I hear that a lot.
There's a lot of true believers here. After law school, what did you decide to do?
As I was studying for the bar exam, I really enjoyed the game of poker. And so thinking I was applying to law jobs in Las Vegas for media companies or gaming companies, I was offered an opportunity at a poker industry company, a media company. And I thought I was gonna, apprentice and learn the law, and they made me a writer. So I became a tournament reporter, eventually continuing on to become a feature writer, and eventually the editor of one of their magazines. My job was basically to travel the world, interview my favorite poker players, write stories about them, do videos about them on the road. And then eventually I got to know the players well enough, they asked me to represent them as their manager. So kind of like a sports agent, I was doing that for poker players from 2005 to 2009.
And you moved to Vegas in 2005, is that correct?
That's correct.
And have you, since moving here and doing everything you just described, have you done any other types of jobs or opened any other business?
Yes.
Could you describe those for us?
Sure. The poker industry really shut down in the US after Congress passed the law called the UIGPA, which made it illegal for banks to transact with online poker companies. And that was a big source of income for my players and for the industry as a whole. So at that point, I chose to leave the industry. And within about a year and a half, I started my first real tech venture, which was in the bowling space. I have a tendency to build businesses around things that I'm passionate about. Not ashamed to admit that I'm a passionate bowler. And so I started a business initially that linked together the world's bowling centers to gather all of the data so that people in real time could see their score stats, like any pin lead, literally while they were on the lanes, and play against people from all over the world.
Okay. So tell me something about your personal life other than your work life. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
I am an avid personal wellness kind of person. I received my yoga teacher certification in 2017. I practice yoga regularly, meditation as well. I teach meditation and breathing and mindfulness practices, particularly to young entrepreneurs. I practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I recreationally play sports like golf, tennis occasionally. I like to stay active.
All right. Now let's transition to why we're here, okay? Tell me why real water. At some point in time, you began purchasing real water. Do you remember when and why?
Yes. Around January of 2018, I saw the real water display at Whole Foods, and I saw the marketing, which indicated to me that it was more healthy, closer to the body's pH, anti-oxidation, anti-inflammatory, just generally healthier. And being that I had just gotten my yoga teacher certification, about a year earlier, I was teaching yoga and just practicing a lot, going to the gym. I said, this seems like the best water on the market. I drink a lot of water. I'm active. And so I saw the marketing, believed it, started drinking it initially from Whole Foods, and I liked it. I liked the taste. I liked the way it made me feel, and kind of emotionally, just like the idea that I was drinking really healthy water. And then that led to, I saw a real water truck in my neighborhood around April of 2018. And I was like, oh, this is great. I can get it delivered to my house. I can have as much as I want, and I'm going to Whole Foods for it. And so around April of 2018, called the number I saw on the truck and started having 5-gallon jugs delivered to my house.
So is it fair to say that when you were purchasing real water from Whole Foods, you were purchasing it in a retail bottle?
Bottles like this or larger?
Like that, shaped a little bit differently. I believe it was showed a few times like a blue bottle, shaped a little bit like a barbell.
Yes.
I forget, 1 liter maybe, something like that.
And what Whole Foods locations were you purchasing the retail bottles from?
Probably most in the valley. My primary Whole Foods, 2 of them, were Fort Apache in Charleston and Lake Mead and Tenaya. But if I was in the area, I would also go to Henderson, and the one in on the strip was at Town Square, Town Center. I always get those 2 confused.
And you would routinely buy real water with credit cards and cash? Did it matter?
No, it didn't matter. Typically, smaller purchases, like if I ran into Whole Foods for chicken salad or something like that, I would buy 1 or 2 on the way out, or 3, depending on how long I thought it was going to be before I came back to Whole Foods. And those smaller purchases would usually be with cash, and larger purchases were on credit card.
And I believe this is true with everyone. Do you find yourself drinking more water when it's hot outside, or when during the spring and summer than you do in the winter and fall?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Prior to you going to the hospital, I think the jury already knows this. You were in the hospital in May of 2018, correct?
Yes.
All right. Prior to going to the hospital in May of 2018, what would be your estimate of how much real water you would consume?
I was getting delivered usually between, in the lesser months, between 5 and 7 5-gallon jugs per month. So it averages out to probably a little over 5 gallons a week. And then when it was warmer, I would go, I think my largest order was 10 5-gallon jugs.
And if there's information that you started purchasing jugs earlier in the year, you wouldn't dispute that came up, correct?
If I started purchasing the 5-gallon jugs?
Yes.
5-gallon jugs started in April of 2018.
When you were consuming the jugs, the water coming out of the jugs, did you also still have some of the retail bottles in your refrigerator or your cupboard or anything like that?
Yes, it was my recollection that it was highly likely that I still had the real water from Whole Foods, as I was buying it from Whole Foods up until the date of the first delivery of the 5-gallon jugs. And so it's that mesh period between the retail bottles from Whole Foods and the 5-gallon jugs that I would have had the real water bottles from Whole Foods still in the house.
Right. Now let's kind of fast forward to May of 2018. When did you feel yourself starting to get ill, eventually resulting in you going to the hospital?
I started feeling ill several days before I first went to the hospital on May 24th. It started with nausea, the fatigue started to get greater, then I started vomiting, including with some blood, and there was just a general feeling like something was really not right. And that led up to the 24th, was my first hospital visit.
And what hospital did you go to?
UMC.
And did you stay in the hospital on the 24th, or were you released?
I was released. I went in, had my vitals checked, stayed for a little while, and I was sent home.
Did you eventually return back to UMC?
Yes. The morning of the 25th, I went back to UMC. I woke up and I couldn't pick my head up off the pillow. Unfortunately, my girlfriend at the time was not with me, and so, and the details get pretty hazy here. I was really out of it. I made my way to my front door, called an Uber, and took an Uber to the hospital. I was in pretty rough shape at that point.
Tell me what symptoms you recall having on the 25th.
On the 25th, I was extremely disoriented. I had nausea, vomiting, dizziness, and extreme fatigue, and a headache.
And do you recall while you were in the hospital, your liver function test being performed? Were you informed of your liver function test results, I should say?
Again, it gets really hazy. That early period in the hospital was really challenging. I don't specifically remember how they did the liver tests or being told, but I do know that those tests got done.
What do you recall about your condition generally? Were you told anything from the physicians about your condition?
Yes. Once we got to the point where the tests were done and the elevated liver levels were determined, I was told that I was in liver failure and that I should get my affairs in order, that I could die at any point, that I could tip over is the phrase that I remember being told, which I took to mean that my liver would shut down, leading to my death. And as a result of that, I immediately called my mom and my sister. My sister is a registered nurse. Because of my state of disorientation, I needed an advocate. And so my mom and my sister flew out immediately, and they were there by the next day. It might have even been that evening, I don't remember, but it was pretty quick.
Now, did your mom and your sister stay at your place while you were in the hospital?
They did.
Okay, and they were at your bedside while you were in the hospital?
Yes.
During the time your mom and your sister were there at your home while you were in the hospital, did they drink real water?
They did.
Did they become sick?
They did.
Do you recall their symptomology?
Nausea, disorientation, and fatigue.
Now, I'm gonna throw this in there only because I never understand this. But no matter who it is, guy or girl, if they're sick, they always think of their mom first. Never the dad, always the mom. I see it on sports, somebody gets a touchdown, it's always the mom. It gets all the compliments. Can you put up exhibit 788? Again, Tori, this is now 788.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, this is a document from your medical records for UMC. And if you look at the top, it says the admission date, 5/25/2018. Can you see that, Mr. Belski?
Yes, sir.
And then it says UMC, which is where you went, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Let's go to the ALT, AST scores. It's in red. There we go. Now, those are your ALT, AST scores on the 27th, 26th, and the 25th. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Will you explain what that meant in terms of what was normal versus what your scores were?
What I understood was that these levels were exceedingly high, with the range being, I believe, 12 to 70 or something along those lines. And so this was the kind of support for the idea that I might die. And so with that information on those days, I was in constant anxiety and fear of my own death. Something I'll never forget, trauma that has stuck with me. And I lived with that, and I did my best to maintain a positive attitude, but it was, with my mom and my sister there, being in fear for my life around them, it was one of the more challenging experiences in my life.
And Mr. Belski, eventually you were discharged on May 29th, correct?
That's correct.
At that point, had you improved to the point where you weren't as confused or dazed? Did the other symptomology kind of diminish?
By the 28th, by the 27th, I started to feel better, a little bit better. And by the 28th, I was feeling well enough to want to leave the hospital and be cared for by my sister. I was craving the sunlight and.
Shane, you can take it down. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. And so yes, to be more direct to your question, yes, I was starting to feel better by around the 27th.
Now, the jury doesn't know this, but I certainly do. Is your sister in the medical field?
Yeah, my sister's a registered nurse.
So at the point that you felt that you were able to leave the hospital, the 29th, did you go back to your home?
I did.
And was your sister and your mother still there?
Yes.
And did they remain there with you until you recovered?
They remained there with me, I believe it was for a week before we all traveled together back to New Jersey where my mom lived. The ocean and the beach has always been a source of healing and fulfillment for me. And after this experience, not just the incredible challenges physically, but the fear, the anxiety, the emotional toll that just that visit took on me, that's where I wanted to convalesce, was back east. So it was when I felt well enough to go, we all went together.
It's my understanding that before you and your mom and your sister left to go to New Jersey, and you actually bought them puppies.
Yes, a day or two after I got out of the hospital, I wish and hope that nobody on the jury or in the room has to go through a phase of life where you're facing your own death in an acute way. I mean, God, I've had family members with cancer and other diseases, and there's a long period of time, but the acuteness of thinking I might die any moment, it brought me to this state that once I was out of the hospital, I wanted joy. I wanted to live life. And my mom and sister, while they were in the hospital, both decided that they wanted to try to find like little mini Maltipoo puppies. So it was just something to bring joy to the time I was in the hospital, or to try to. And they found a breeder here in Vegas. And so I got out of the hospital, and I just felt that was a thing to create joy and to create a harmony. And after all they had done to be there in the hospital with me, I thought that was a really nice and fun thing for us to do together. So yes, that's true.
Now, I want to move forward 3 years now since this happened, actually 5 years now. But do you recall the name of Dr. Hudson? Do you recognize that name?
Dr. Hudson. I don't, at the moment I don't.
Do you recall being interviewed by a doctor related to this case, discussing your condition?
Yes, during the pre-trial creation of the documentation, yes, Dr. Hudson.
All right. And did Dr. Hudson speak to you about your current condition and his review of your medical records?
Yes.
Now, it's your understanding that Dr. Hudson has opined that your acute liver failure was due to real water. Is that your understanding?
Yes, that's my understanding.
All right. Now, if Dr. Hudson were to come to you and say, Mr. Belski, as a result of having gone through this ordeal, you may have to have your liver tested annually or semi-annually. Can you do that?
Yes.
Do you have an interest in continuing to monitor the function of your liver?
Absolutely. I assume I'll be doing that for the rest of my life.
All right. You don't seem to be a complainer, Mr. Belski. Do you find yourself being a complainer?
I don't. I have worked my whole life since I started my personal development journey to foster growth mindset positivity. I help guide others in that same way, particularly as I mentioned in the entrepreneurial field. And so complaining for me is the opposite of how I try to live. If there's something that could potentially be complained about, I look for the opportunity for growth in it, and I accept the situation as it is, and I do my best to grow from it. That's just my personal ethos.
And given what you said, you would have preferred not to have to bring this to this jury after the fact.
Of course.
I'll pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Belski. Joel Odou on behalf of Real Water. Thank you for appearing here today. I want to ask you some specific questions about your illness. And looking at the records and trying to figure out when this occurred, it looked like your illness first started in about May of 2018, right?
Yes, sir.
And was that around the time that the Golden Knights were doing well?
Yes.
And what I want to do is I kind of want to tie your illnesses to what was happening in the world, or at least our world, because we're all Golden Knights obsessive. So that was around the time of the playoffs, right?
Yes. The hospital. Yeah. The lead up to the hospital visits was playoffs. The hospital stay was the Stanley Cup Finals.
Well, we don't want to talk about that. It didn't turn out so well.
You live with the team and die with the team, right?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And, I find it interesting. We're all obsessed about hockey, and we live in the desert. What are you going to do?
It's one of the reasons why I chose to be a season ticket holder. And of course, as we all know, with 1 October, that season was special beyond sports. It was special in a way that you, only being in Vegas and being part of that community could give you.
Absolutely. So when you first started getting sick, it was around, would it be Thursday, May 24th? Does that sound about right?
The 24th was the first visit to the hospital.
Okay.
But I started feeling symptoms leading up to that first visit.
Okay, the days leading up to that Thursday.
Yes, sir.
And then you went to the hospital on Thursday, they sent you home,
Yes.
and then you went back on Friday. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, and on Friday, the symptoms had gotten worse, right?
Yes.
You felt dizziness, you had vomiting, nausea, you were starting to become disoriented, is that right?
Yeah, the disorientation had continued from the day before and had gotten much, much worse. As I said, in the morning, I couldn't pick my head up off the pillow. It was effort just to get out of bed.
And that would have been Friday morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you call your mom before going to the hospital?
No.
Did you call her after you got there?
Yes.
And they admitted you in the hospital on Friday?
Yes.
And then you stayed through the weekend, right?
I believe I was discharged on the 29th.
And the 29th would have been like Tuesday or something?
I think so. That sounds good.
Okay. So the first day you were in the hospital, you weren't doing well. Is that fair to say?
I'm sorry, could you
The
repeat?
first day in the hospital, you weren't doing well. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
You weren't feeling good?
No, I was not feeling well.
Yeah. Second day, same kind of thing. Saturday, you're still not feeling very well.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same as the first day.
And do you remember when your mom got there?
It was either the night of the 20th, they took the first flight out, my mom and my sister, so it was either the night of the 25th or the day of the 26th, I can't be certain.
Okay, so that would have been Friday morning, Friday day or Saturday morning would have been the 26th?
To the best of my recollection, that would be accurate, yes.
Okay. And it sounded like in talking to Mr. Parker, on Sunday you started to feel better.
The first day where I started to feel, so let me see, 25th, 26th, 27th.
27th, so
Yes.
that would have been Sunday?
Yeah, sorry, the days are hard.
No, I know.
I just know them by the date.
Yeah, and I'm cheating, I got an iPhone, so I can see the dates. I freely confess, I'm looking at the dates. I just want to understand kind of your illness and what you went through.
Sure. Yeah, the first 2 days, as I mentioned, were physically some of the most challenging and traumatizing days I've ever had. Along with the fear and anxiety of death. The 27th, I started to feel a little bit better, especially around the disorientation.
Yeah, I'm very sorry that you feel so bad. And so on Monday, then you started to even get better?
Yes, Monday, it was clear to me, well, I guess it was part clarity, part hope, that I had turned the corner and that I wasn't getting worse, at least.
And were they able to give you an IV, or what were they doing for you? What was your care like?
To my recollection, again, especially in the early days, it's hard to remember. I believe I was on an IV, and I was getting testing. In the evenings, I was sedated before bed. And that's all I can recall. There wasn't much that could be done for me other than just waiting.
Yeah, they were just giving you an IV, and then at some point you were able to eat as you were starting to get better?
Yes.
Do you think that was Sunday, maybe Monday?
It's hard for me to say. I don't recall that specifically.
Sometimes people, like, they recall, finally I'm done with the vomiting, I'm able to eat. Nothing like that sticks out in your mind that it was Sunday or Saturday or Monday, any of those?
No, the thing that sticks out the most is really wishing I could go to the Stanley Cup game.
Knowing when they're playing the Capitals here?
Yeah, knowing that I wasn't well enough to do so, but I probably would have preferred that to eating the ability to go to the game.
No, definitely, I understand the hockey bug has bitten us all, so to speak. And then by Monday, you're feeling better, right?
Not completely,
Yeah.
but I was feeling clearer. The nausea had subsided, and I just was generally feeling, I think a lot of that too was just joy, just being grateful that it wasn't the alternative.
Grateful that you recovered.
That I was alive.
Yeah, and that you were feeling better presumably, right?
I was on the road to recovery is what it felt like. I wouldn't say that I was completely better.
Yeah, no,
far from it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Your best recollection is all we can ask for.
Sure.
And then Tuesday, you got to go home?
Yes.
And then when did you travel back to your mother's house in New Jersey?
I believe that was June 5th, my mother's birthday.
Nice, okay, so a little over a week later, then you were able to travel to New Jersey?
Yes.
How long did you stay in New Jersey?
I stayed in New Jersey until August.
Okay, and then when you came back to Las Vegas in August of 2018, you went back to your house?
Yes.
And I'm curious, when you went back to your house in August of 2018, you still had real water in your house?
I did.
And you started drinking it again?
I did.
And you didn't have any problems when you got home?
Not to my recollection. I'll note though that I was only in Vegas for a few weeks on that trip before I went back to the East Coast. I believe it was the second week of September.
And you spend quite a bit of time on the East Coast going back and forth, right? That's kind of your life anyways?
At that time, before I met my now wife, who is from Raleigh, that was the general thing. I realized after a couple of startups that I didn't want to miss any more of my parents' lives. I was in Vegas for like 15 years by that time, or 13 years by that time, and I didn't want to miss the special times, and so I made it back as often as I could to spend time with them.
And then, and that's wonderful, were you able to buy a house on the East Coast and maintain a house in Las Vegas?
My mother and I, at the time, I did not have a home on the East Coast. My mother is getting older and is really afraid of ending up in a nursing home. And she lives in a house in Ocean City, New Jersey, that is her happy place. And she had the opportunity to buy it before it went on the market from the person she was renting from. And I didn't, it was her wish to be there, to grow old there. And so I dug deep and helped her buy that house.
That's wonderful. And so you own the house your mother lives in New Jersey?
We own it together.
Together, that's wonderful. And then you were able to keep your house here.
Yes.
And then you met your future wife.
That's right.
And she's from, I'm sorry, my hearing is terrible. I thought you said Raleigh, North Carolina?
Raleigh, North Carolina, yes.
And when did you meet her?
August of 21.
And then you got married in 22?
Yes. Yes, October of 22.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The other thing that I was not able to hear, I guess I'm sitting in the cheap seats. The puppies, did you have a name? Did you get a puppy? I didn't hear the answer, I apologize.
Not me. Both my mom and my sister got puppies.
What kind of puppies?
They were multi-hooters.
Wonderful. And so your life has kind of now gotten back on track. Would you agree with me there?
My wife?
Your wife?
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
my wife is on track. Yes.
I apologize.
This is on the record, so.
It is.
I'll repeat
They
that.
find me, they're like, what did Dad hear versus what did we say? And so you've gotten married, and you don't have to see a liver doctor, is that right?
I get my liver levels checked
Uh-huh.
as part of my regimen. I will say that a lot of the information, particularly around hydrazine, I've learned only shortly before all of you. And I, of course, have done my own research. I listened to the experts. And
Yeah, let me stop you there just in case we get into something that, you know, perhaps we're not allowed to talk about because I don't know what you're gonna say, but, so as part of, the illness, naturally you studied what caused the illness. Is that fair to sum up?
well, specifically, I've studied hydrazine.
Yeah, and that's fair because you believe it, and we acknowledge that it made you sick, right?
That's right.
Okay. And as part of your future care, if you will, one of the things that you do is you get your liver function tests checked, right?
Yes.
And it's been normal.
Yes.
That's great news. So I have a couple of final questions. So in between, you know, helping your mom buy the house, getting married, coming back and forth to Las Vegas, you continued to drink real water until you heard it was on the news. Is that pretty accurate?
Not quite.
Okay. Tell me where I messed up.
Sure, yeah. It just relates to my time in Vegas because during COVID, so starting in January of, what would that have been? 2020, I went east to care for my mom, to live in the house with her, do the shopping, and care for her. And so that entire year, the whole year of 20, I was in the house in New Jersey with my mom. And then, so that brings us to 21. I was in Vegas in the early part of 21, and then went back to New Jersey for the summer, like around May.
Okay.
And that's when I met my wife. And so I really wasn't in Vegas since COVID very much. But to your question, I stopped ordering the real water delivery as soon as I read the article in March of 21. That's when I stopped.
And that's when you learned there'd been a recall.
That's correct.
Your total medical bills are about $37,500. Does that sound about right?
That sounds right.
Mr. Belski, again, very sorry, I'm very glad that you've made the best of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Hey, Joe? Joe, can you give me that notebook back in there? Thank you.
Good, sir.
Thank you, sir. Question?
No question, John.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robbins?
No questions, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you read it out?
Just one follow-up.
Should be very brief. And I would get in trouble if I didn't mention this. Mr. Belski, you got married in December of 22, correct?
October.
October 22. And it's my understanding that you're expecting.
Yes.
And when?
December 6th of this year.
Your first child?
My first.
Great, congratulations. And I only raise that point because you have a reason to live, in addition to the other reasons you had before. If you have another reason to get your liver tests, and make sure you're healthy going forward, right?
Absolutely, and I would add to that that you know I am not a complainer. I just want to add that since learning of hydrazine and how detrimental and dangerous it is for the body, I am actively managing the anxiety and the fear that comes from the potential long-term impacts of hydrazine. And I don't think that that will ever go away. And the reason I bring that up as it relates to your question about the child is that I don't want him to come into the world with the energy of his father in fear for an early death. And it's something that I am acutely working on. Thank God for the personal practice I've developed over the years to help me with that. But I just want to say that I don't want to die. I am anxious about what happens with hydrazine. They can't study hydrazine and the long-term effects on the body because it's not supposed to be in the body. And I am committed to bringing the child into the world and raising him in a place of no fear. And so that's something that I actively take into my life and I'm working on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mills. No further questions, John.
Okay, thank you. Anything additional? Mr. Parker, it sounds like you're having a boy.
Ha! Did that slip out? Yes, it's a boy.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Rickey.
Okay, sir. You may step in.
Thank you, sir.
So will the plaintiffs call their next witness?
Mr. We have Mr. Marlow here. I sent him to the bathroom from Ziggy.
You are may I confer with Mr. Campbell?
Yes, sir. Yep. Oh, absolutely.
One moment, please.
No, go ahead.
Mr. Leon, may we approach?
Yes, you may. Mr. Marlow, could you go back to Okay, counsel, thank you for the assistance.
Thanks.
All right, so Mr. Kemp, we call in the next witness, is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. We will call John Marlow, the inventor of Will Water.
Marlow, we're ready now. Follow me, all right?
Mr. Marlow, please watch your step as you ascend. Ms. Marlow, if you could stand and face Madam Clerk and raise your right hand, please.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. May I have you state and spell your name for the record?
John Marlow,
And spell it also.
M-A-R-L-W.
Thank you.
Be cautious, that is on wheels.
Just me. That's all right. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Afternoon, Mr. Marlow. Can you hear me? Mr. Marlow, if you need a break at any time, just tell me and we'll break, okay? All right. Where'd you go to college, Mr. Marlow?
Montana State University, Copeland, Montana.
Okay, and what'd you get your degree in?
It was general studies, major in architecture.
You wanted to be an architect?
Yeah.
Did you have a minor?
No.
And did you get the degree in architecture?
No.
Okay. Did you ultimately graduate from that university?
Yes.
What'd you get your degree in?
General studies.
Oh, general
On my
studies.
diploma.
And you didn't continue for a master's or doctorate?
No.
Did you take chemistry in college?
I flunked chemistry.
Okay. And after you flunked it, did you try to retake the course?
I did not.
Did you ever try to take another chemistry course in your life?
No.
So have you ever had any other formal course in chemistry?
No.
You don't consider yourself a chemist, correct?
No.
And would you agree with me that you're not qualified to analyze chemical processes with regards to bottled water?
No, I don't think so.
You're not qualified.
No.
Okay. And so you do not consider yourself an expert on water processing?
I consider myself fairly knowledgeable about water,
Okay.
its properties,
Okay. And where did you learn about that?
self-taught.
Okay. But you haven't had any formal education on water processing,
No.
correct? Or water bottling?
No.
Have you had any courses with regards to food handling or food safety?
No.
And what did you do after college?
In Phoenix, Arizona, in the plant planning and layout department. It was architectural. What we're doing,
Okay. Good.
layout and all that sort of thing.
Okay. How old are you now, Mr. Marlow?
I'm 82.
Okay. Let's not do all the decades of your life. Just give me like 2 or 3 of the major things you did before coming to Las Vegas.
Okay, after the Arizona, I went to Wyoming. Excuse me. And I sold concrete pipe, bridges and manholes for a company, large company. After that, I manufactured portable buildings, had my own company. It was rather successful for quite a while. And then with the recession, Jimmy Carter days, inflation and everything, I went broke, so I wound up here in Las Vegas.
That's 76 through 80.
Yeah, 80, 81, I believe, yes.
Jimmy Carter was elected in 76,
Okay,
right?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, when did you come to Vegas?
I would say probably 80, 81, I'm guessing, but
That's when Reagan was elected president?
if he was, yes.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so prior to coming to Las Vegas and excluding real water, had you ever had any experience in a water bottling plant or a water making facility?
No.
Food making plant, food making facility?
No.
And when you came to Vegas, what did you do?
Business, my portable building business had dried up in Wyoming, and so I started up here in Henderson. And probably for a little over a year, I was manufacturing some buildings.
So this is 81, 82?
I'm guessing, yes.
Okay. And then what happened?
Well, I sold it, kind of burnout, I guess, best way to describe it. And I got involved with an Englishman who was selling a fuel catalyst product that was made in England. It was interesting to me, and I tried to get involved with him in terms of the fuel catalyst.
Okay, and by fuel catalyst, what do you mean?
Well, they were solid metal pellets that you put in a gas tank. And I developed it further. I have 2 US patents that were issued to me personally for a fuel catalyst that I developed that I felt was quite effective.
Is this the Spirit?
Yes.
Okay, that's later, right? Or is that this, you developed Spirit at this time?
Spirit PFC it was called.
Right. Is that this time frame we're talking about?
Yes, since I've been here in Vegas, yes.
Okay, no, I'm in 1982, 83.
Mhm.
Is that when you met the English person?
Yes. I'm guessing. I'm sorry, I don't know those dates exactly.
Okay, let me try to dial it in a little bit.
Okay.
So there's a man involved with real water named Brent Jones, correct?
Okay, yes.
And you met Mr. Jones approximately 20, Your Honor, can I get rid of this? Yeah.
Can you met,
Your Honor?
yeah, you can turn the lavalier mic off.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you know who Brent Jones is, right?
Yes.
And he's one of the owners of Real Water.
Yes.
Now, when did you first meet Mr. Graham Jones?
Okay, after I developed the Spirit PFC catalyst and got patents on it through a individual in Prescott, Arizona, who had a great interest in my patents. Brent was the attorney, I believe, for a group of guys. There were, I think, 3 or 4, and I don't recall their names, but.
Okay, and if I understand this is about the year 2000, 2001?
I'm sorry,
You had developed.
I have a hard time with dates, I really do.
How about this? You said you have a patent on this product.
Yes.
Do you remember the date of the patent application?
No.
All right. Okay, did you develop just one fuel catalyst or more than one fuel catalyst?
Well, it was one technology that was good for diesel or gasoline.
Okay, and did you electrolysize anything as part of?
No.
This was not an electrolysis process. All right. But this was a supplement that you put into a gas tank?
Or a diesel tank, yes.
And you just
Or you put it in line also, in a cartridge form.
So it was either pellets or?
No, my patent wasn't pellets, that was past the English, the pellets were the English.
Okay. Do you recognize these items I have in my hand?
Yes.
What are these?
It's Russian technology for splitting water.
Okay. And have you also referred to them as titanium tubes?
Yes.
Okay. And they're titanium tubes?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me when you first saw these titanium tubes?
Go back to dates, I don't know. I wouldn't, I'd be guessing.
About 80s, 90s?
No, it's. It was after all the fuel catalyst business.
Okay. Is there a person that you can, who did you get the tubes from?
A young couple, they were both Russian. They were living here in Las Vegas, and their relative was the one that developed that technology.
Okay.
So I believe he was an uncle.
Okay, they were living somewhere in Las Vegas?
Yep.
What were
In
their names?
Henderson.
What were their names?
Vitold and Svetlana. I can't remember their last name.
Okay. Were you their neighbor, or how did you know?
No, I don't recall exactly how we met, but I think it was through somebody that made me aware of that technology.
Okay, but anyway, you met the couple first,
Yes.
and then they introduced you to someone else?
Well, eventually, the inventor of that, the car, came to Henderson, and I had dinner with him.
Okay, and when was that?
I'm sorry, I don't know the dates, I really don't.
So he was the inventor of the titanium tube technology?
The man from Russia, yes.
Okay.
Bakar.
How do
That's
you
his
spell that?
last name, I believe.
That's his
Bakar.
last name?
Bakar,
What's his first name?
I think it's Vitold, or, yeah, I think so.
So
Vitold, Bakar.
you guys had dinner, right?
Here, yes, in Henderson. Uh-huh.
At Hank's?
No, it was at the Black Bear, the one in Henderson.
Okay.
It wasn't the Black Bear at that time, but that's the location.
Okay, so when you had dinner with him, did you have the tubes with him then?
No, I don't think so, probably.
Okay. And I have 2 tubes in my hand. Did you subsequently get more than 2 from him?
Oh, yeah.
10 or 12?
Probably 8 or 9, maybe 8, maybe, something like that, I think.
So he explained the technology to you, right?
Yes, well, the Vitold, or Svetlana and her husband explained it to me before he came
They
to
explained
town.
it to you prior to the dinner.
Yes,
But when you had the dinner with this person who invented this,
yes,
he explained it too.
I'm sure we discussed it, yeah.
Okay, and basically, what did you understand the technology to be?
Well, it electrolyzes water.
Okay, anything more than that?
Do you want me to go into detail?
Not
as
yet,
what-
not yet. Just
Okay.
in general, what he said at the dinner.
I don't recall exactly.
Did they give you any product literature with this?
Yes,
They did give you product literature.
yes.
You still have that?
It was technical stuff. All the
Okay, well,
chemical.
I hope so, yeah.
I don't think I have it anymore. I don't know. I may.
Was it in English or
It may
Russian?
in my garage somewhere.
What language was it in?
English?
What did they call these things?
I think if I recall correctly, they called them a FEM, F-E-M.
And what does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay, so anyways, you bought 10 to 12 FEMs,
I think probably about 8 or 9.
and how much did these FEMs cost a piece?
I don't remember.
$100 a piece, $1,000 a piece, what are we talking?
Closer to 100.
So you spent about $1,000, give or take, buying these things,
I would say so, yes.
and
Excuse me.
they told you about the technology, right, how to use them,
Mhm.
yes?
Yes.
Right. And other than them telling you that, and you getting these written instructions from maybe in the garage, and getting the tubes, did you get anything else?
No.
Okay. Is this patented technology, do you know?
I would assume so, but I don't know if he had US patents. I have no idea.
And after this one dinner meeting at this bear place, did you ever see this guy again?
No.
Ever talk to him again?
No.
Did you buy the tubes that particular night, or was it?
No.
How long after was it?
I don't remember.
Did he come, or did he live in the United States?
No.
Where did he live at?
In Russia?
Did he come all the way from Russia just for this meeting with you?
No.
Okay.
In fact, that was quite secondary to all that, I'm sure.
And what is first of all, what's your general understanding as to what these tubes do?
They split water in half.
You need to look at one?
No.
Okay.
I understand.
And how's it they split water in half?
You apply a voltage to the FEM.
Okay, the whole thing's the FEM?
Yeah.
So you apply, is this where you apply the voltage?
No, you apply the, see that little top knot on the top of,
Maybe you can show the jury.
be happy to. You hook, this is positive,
Right,
you clamp on here is negative,
okay.
just anywhere on this.
Shane, can we show the clamps real quick, just make sure we're on the same wavelength? When you say clamp, or you say, or
Just
just clamps like.
Whatever
like
to
these
make an
clamps, right?
electrical connection. I don't know what I'm looking at there. I've
Okay,
never seen
these,
that.
these are items that are recovered from the real water plant.
Okay,
Okay. You recognize that instrument on the left?
yes, that's the power supply.
Okay, what is that? That's the power supply?
That's what is driving this, yes.
And this appears to be something called an Astron, A-S-T-R-O-N, right?
Okay, yes,
Is, do you know where real water got that from?
from me.
So you.
Well, I don't know if I bought it, but I referred him to that power supply.
Okay, the Astron was the one that you preferred for some reason.
It's the one I was using.
Why did you use Astron as opposed to?
I don't know.
Did these gentlemen give you the tubes recommend Astron?
No.
You just found the Astron?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the power supply that was used to supply power to the tubes,
Yes.
right? And so that you use something like those clips I'm seeing in the picture?
Yes.
And
I guess, that's really a mess.
yeah, this just looks like a standard battery jumper.
Okay, well, yeah,
Is that what it was?
yep,
Where'd you
exactly.
buy that? Where did you get it at? You had one, right?
I don't know.
Is this just something you bought at like?
Industrial
at
supply
Lowe's?
house, yes.
Okay,
Any-
all right.
Right.
All right, so anyway, so you hook the charging device on the tube, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one goes on the top, that's the positive, and one goes on the middle, that's the negative.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, is there anything inside the tube?
Yes,
What's inside the tube?
there's a diaphragm, it's a, I think I remember from my deposition, I think it's called, it's ceramic.
Okay.
It's
And some
and
sort
it's a filter. It's
Okay.
basically a filter.
Okay, if I had x-ray vision, what would I see? What would we see?
You'd see that tube inside the tube.
So there's another
The
tube.
ceramic tube inside that tube, yes.
So there's another tube inside this tube that's
It's a
ceramic.
filter tube, yes.
Okay,
It's to separate the two waters. One is positive and one is negative.
and how do you know there's a tube like that in there?
I've seen the inside of it.
Okay, there's a way to take this apart to look at that?
Yes,
How do you do that?
see that nut right there?
Yeah,
I think if you unscrew that,
uh-huh,
you can slide this off
uh-huh.
and look in there and you'll see that.
You see the ceramic.
Right.
Does the ceramic come in and out?
I think so. I
Okay,
think it's, there are O-ring seals in here, top and bottom.
great. So the idea is the water goes in where?
Well, it goes in the bottom, well, bottom or top, I guess it doesn't make any difference, but it goes in, you have one central source that has a
It goes
E
into
on
these-
it, and
these
it
prongs.
goes in the, here,
These prongs.
right,
So we have.
and then
one-
it comes out
Slow
here.
down, slow down.
Okay,
We have 1, 2, 3, 4 prongs, right?
yes,
So one's for alkaline, one's for acidic?
yes.
Okay, so you put 2 streams of water in during the process?
Well, to start, it's one stream, yes.
Okay, okay. So you put 1 stream in,
And then the water gets split in 2 streams, it comes out.
so you put 1 going in and then 2 come out,
Basically, yes,
okay? And the 2 that come out, 1 is acidic and 1 is alkaline.
yes,
Okay, and the way that's accomplished is that you have the electricity, the positive, the negative, and it's splitting it somehow.
yes.
Okay, all right. And this is all what the gentleman that sold you the tubes explained.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And the ceramic part, that came as part of your purchase?
Yes.
Now, before trying to use these on water, did you try to do anything else with them?
No.
Okay, so they weren't part of the fuel additive process?
No.
Okay. And I believe you've also invented some sort of product for building mold.
Yes.
Does that use the tubes?
No.
Okay. Anything else other than water you've used? These
That's
tubes?
the only thing I've ever done is water.
This is it.
Mhm.
All right. So you got the tubes, and again, you remember now a little bit more when you got these tubes? No. Okay. And so at some point, you came up with the idea of making alkaline water.
Yes.
Okay. About when was that? Just give me decades, presidents, where you were
Well-
living, however you can remember.
Real Water was in business for, what, 12 years?
Okay, so we think real water started.
And I
in
think I
2000
met,
Okay,
I
stop,
knew
slow-
where-
Let's slow down.
okay,
So about 2010 is about when real water started, that you remember? Maybe 2008?
yes, yeah,
Okay. So you knew Mr. Jones before that time?
right,
From the fuel additive project?
yes,
Okay, and by Mr. Jones, we're talking about Brent Jones,
yes,
because there's 2 Joneses, right? There's
Right.
Brent Jones, and there's his son Blaine Jones.
yes,
And you know them both, right?
yes.
Okay, so when did you start, when did you have the idea of making alkaline water?
That's why I'm trying to peg the date. I think it was 1.5 to 2 years before I met Brent.
Okay, before you met him the first time on the fuel
No,
additive?
the second time.
Okay, so,
Excuse me, I didn't say that right. Yeah, I knew Brent, but it was a year or two before he started manufacturing real water that I met up with him again.
all right, let's try it this way.
So it'd be 2008, I guess, something
Okay,
like
so
that.
there was some point that you met with Mr. Jones, Brent Jones, and you discussed.
And then we were apart for years. And then I met him again.
All right. And you think that's about 2008?
I'm guessing, but yes.
Okay, let's not guess, let's try to
Well-
estimate. Okay?
I'm terrible with dates, I'm sorry.
Okay. Somewhere in 2000 to 2008, is that fair?
Well, that's
There's a lot of latitude there.
narrower than that, but yeah,
Okay.
okay.
It was sometime after 9/11?
I don't know.
Do you remember if you decided to start making alkaline water before 9/11 or after 9/11?
Never thought about that.
Okay, let's try it differently. You were living in Vegas the whole time, right?
Mhm. Yes,
And when you were trying to develop this way to make alkaline water, you must have been living somewhere, right?
yes.
Where were you living?
On Monterey Street in a rented house?
Okay. Are you still living there?
No,
Okay. So when you came up with the way to make alkaline water, you were living in this house on Monterey Street.
yes.
Great. And Monterey is one word, two words?
It's one.
Okay. Now, when you were trying to figure out how to make alkaline water, did you do it at the house? Or did you do it in some laboratory or test facility?
I did it mostly in the garage on Monterey. When I
Okay.
first started,
Right.
yeah,
So when you first started making alkaline water, you did it at this garage at the rented house on
Yes.
Monterey, right?
Yes.
Now, that we've got the location down, does that help you kind of figure the year out a little bit? Okay, let's try it differently. You left the Monterey house at some point, right?
mhm,
Where did you go?
to my current address in Henderson.
And what is that?
Where is it?
What is that address? What street do you live on?
Okay, 1737 Navarre Lane
Okay, and did you buy that
in
house?
Henderson, yes,
Do you remember when approximately?
about 11 years ago.
So that would have been.
Well, actually, maybe it's been longer than that now. My wife passed away 2.5 years ago,
I'm sorry.
so it'd be longer than that.
So the best we can come up with here.
12 plus,
Okay, so the best we can come up with here is that you developed this in Monterey sometime in 2000 or 2010. Is that fair?
that, fine, yes,
Okay. Now, was it just you, or was there a team of you trying to develop?
it's me,
Just you yourself?
right.
Okay. All right. No one was helping you.
No, well, the Russians had taught me how to use all this and set up, so,
And this is at the dinner at the Bear Restaurant.
no.
They helped you some more?
Yeah, those two kids lived here in town. I was in touch with them quite a bit.
Okay, so
They helped train me, basically, is the way.
after you bought the tubes, these two kids trained you. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yes,
And that was your two kids, how old were they?
well, they had two boys, one was about 4 and one was a infant, early 20s.
Okay. Okay, and so what did they do?
Mid-twenties.
What did they do for a living?
This technology, they moved here to promote this technology.
So they moved here to promote this technology.
Yes,
You were paying them to help you?
no,
Okay,
well, out of the cost of the product, I guess, yes,
you paid them for the tubes.
yes.
Okay. So in any event, you started, why did you want to make alkaline water in the first place?
It fascinated me. I'd never seen anything like it.
Okay, and prior to 2000, had you ever made alkaline water?
No,
Had you ever drank alkaline water?
well, not that I was aware of, no.
Did you even know what alkaline water was prior to?
Probably not at that time, no.
Okay, so you met the gentleman that sold you the tubes, you bought the tubes, and you became fascinated with the prospect of making alkaline water.
Yeah,
Okay. So, we're back at your house, in the garage of the house, and
Okay.
we're doing experiments with the tubes, right?
oh, yes.
Okay, can you tell the jury what you were doing to experiment with the tubes?
That's why I paused. I don't know if it was necessarily an experiment. I was just proving in what I'd been taught to do with it.
Let me ask it differently. you were changing the amounts of mineral and chemicals you were using, correct?
There was some of that because I was also making a hand lotion that was based on the alkaline water.
Okay, you're making a hand lotion with these tubes as well?
Well, it was the water, and then I had a emulsifier that another company made that you mix oil and water, and it was alkaline water.
Okay, but
And it was a hand lotion, it was a pain cream that I was producing.
Okay, let's try to break it down.
Okay,
So you were using the tubes to make drinking water and alkaline water for hand lotion.
yes.
Anything else you were trying to make?
I guess not.
Okay. Now, did the hand lotion ever develop into a product that you were selling?
I sold some.
Okay, what was the name of that?
I want to say Hydrex, but I'm not sure.
Hydrix?
Hydrex, RX, like
Like Hydra, the mythical.
the RX, the pharmacy symbol. It was
Hydra.
HYDRX,
Okay.
pharmacy
You named
symbol.
it after the Hydra.
I think that was the name of it, I'm not sure.
All right, so you're making Hydrix and alkaline water, right?
Well, I wasn't actually producing the water in any sense. I wanted to. That was,
You were developing a formula to produce the water.
yes.
Okay, and in the process of developing the formula, did you try this variation, and that variation, and this variation? Was there a trial and error period here?
Yes.
And when you tried to develop the water, did you drink it yourself?
Yes.
Okay, and did you use the reactions your body had to help you fine tune the product a little bit?
Yes.
Can you explain that to me?
I established around 8 to 9 pH.
Okay,
And I guess that's the best way to describe it. I was concerned with taste, so I used different,
okay.
I used magnesium and potassium, but I used different formulations of it to base on taste.
You tried different formulations.
Yes.
Adding magnesium, adding potassium, right?
Yes.
Okay. And at times, did those formulations make you ill?
I got it too alkaline at one point where I got a stomach ache for a couple of days.
Threw up?
No, I don't, no. I
Vomiting?
just felt nauseous and
No diarrhea?
not that I remember, no.
So you were basically testing the product on yourself.
Yes,
Anybody else?
well, I don't remember if my wife was involved, I think
Okay.
somewhat, probably, maybe.
How about the
She had a good taste, so.
Okay. How about the 20-year-olds? Did you get them involved as taste testers?
I don't remember
Okay. Anybody else?
about that.
Anybody else?
I drank it myself, basically, for quite a period of time before I tried to go out and sell it.
Okay, we talking years, months? What are we talking?
Just months, I think.
Okay. And so during this time period that you were drinking for months, sometimes you got sick and sometimes you didn't.
No, I got sick once because I was up in the 11 pH thing and that was not wise to do and I knew it and I messed up.
Did you have a target? You wanted a certain pH level?
I think I was at the 8 to 9 pH.
And where did you get that from?
Just the literature that was out there and the taste and
So you looked at other alkaline waters to see what their pH was?
yes,
And so
I
you
researched
took
them.
other alkaline waters and that's how you got your pH? Right?
Well, I won't say that's the only way I got it, but yes.
Okay. Would I be correct that alkaline water has different negative ranges? Different alkaline waters have different negative ranges?
Probably, yes.
Okay, so for example, some water has as high as negative 800, right? Kangen water? You know what Kangen water is?
I've heard of pain, yes.
Okay, and that has a higher negative range, 700, 800?
I don't recall.
Okay,
I don't know.
And did you do any kind of experiments or testing or literature review to try to find out what a general range was for the alkaline water?
I remember shooting for minus 120.
Okay, that was your target.
That's where I felt I was supposed to be, yes. I don't remember where I got that from, but.
Okay, but
yes.
somewhere or another in your mind, you wanted negative 120, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. And so when you developed the product, your goal was to make alkaline water negative 120.
Yes.
Okay, not negative 220, 220, 220, negative 120.
Yes.
Okay. And you don't know why you wanted negative 120, but that's what you wanted.
Well, there was other literature out there
Okay.
that I had referenced that I came up with that number.
Did you try taking it up to 250, negative 300, negative 250?
Oh, I'm sure I probably did, yeah.
You could make it move up and down depending on how much electricity you put in.
Yes.
So the more electricity you put in it, the more negative you could get.
Yes.
All right, and there were some, on that voltage meter, there were settings to how much positive and negative voltage you could put in this thing, right?
Voltage and amperage.
Right?
Yes.
And what's the difference between voltage and amperage?
Volts are volts and amps are amps. I don't know how to answer that.
So you had a standard setting that you came up with.
Yes.
What was it?
About 80 to 90 watts.
Okay.
That's amps and volts. It makes your watts.
Okay, and was it different from
Probably 8 amps and 10 volts, something like that.
And was it different for the positive side and the negative side?
No.
It was the same for both sides.
You just have one current going in there through it.
And you standardized that at some point, right?
I landed on a number, and I think it was around 8 amps and 10 volts.
Whatever the number was, that was the number you were to use to make alkaline water. Whatever the number was.
Yes.
And that's what you told the real water to do.
Yes.
In other words, on Monday, we wouldn't do 2, and Wednesday we'd go to 8. It was consistent.
Yes.
Okay. That was the way it was made.
Yes.
Okay, back to the tubes. So,
What exhibit was that?
346.
Thank you.
347. Okay, so there came a point in time that you felt comfortable that you developed something that worked, right?
Yes.
Now, after you developed the thing that worked, did you do any sort of safety testing on it?
In terms?
You were making a brand new water product. Did you do any testing to make sure you, whatever you came up with, safe?
I looked at the there's certain lab requirements that you have to go through with the health department and that type of thing.
Okay,
But
those are
I
bad.
didn't do any testing that was,
Okay, so you didn't do any safety studies?
no,
Okay. Did you know if anyone else did any safety studies?
no,
Okay, did you do, and I know the answer already, you didn't do any animal testing, you didn't feed it to
no,
mice, rats, or dogs, right?
no,
Didn't do some kind of survey where you brought in 100 people asking to drink it, right? Didn't do that, right?
I increased my sphere of friendship where they started drinking trusted people that I knew.
So you gave out free bottles to people?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And did there come a time that you had the conversation with Mr. Grant Jones about this being purchased by Real Water?
Yes.
When was that?
Would we just decide 2008, something like that?
Okay, so approximately 2008, you and Mr. Jones had a meeting about him buying the formula and the tubes from you.
Yes,
And at some point, you sold him the formula and tubes.
yes,
And you gave him the exclusive rights.
yes,
In other words, no one in the United States could do it except through him.
yes,
Okay? All right. And so you actually took all your tubes and gave them to Mr. Jones.
I have a couple still,
Well, you still have a couple of these tubes.
yes.
What do you do with them?
I haven't used them for years.
All right. So how many did you give to Mr. Jones, if you remember?
I think it's about 8, but I'm not sure.
And, you know, Mr. Jones was a lawyer, right?
Yes.
So giving these two to a lawyer wouldn't do much good with it. I mean, he wouldn't know how to use money.
Well, if he was instructed, he's not stupid.
Okay. Did you instruct Mr. Jones how to use them?
No, I did his son blind.
Okay, so you taught Blaine how to use these tools?
Yes.
All right, so at that point in time, did Mr. Jones have a facility to make these, make the real water, or make the alkaline water?
I don't know exactly where they started out.
Okay, at some point you taught Blaine Jones how to use these tubes, right?
Yes.
Okay, where was that at?
I think it was on DI location, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so was there some area in the DI that was called the concentrate room?
Yes.
Okay, is that where you taught Mr. Blaine Jones how to make?
Yes.
Okay, and how long did that take?
A few days, I guess.
Okay. And can you tell the jury just generally what you told Blaine Jones to do? What did you tell Blaine
Well, I
Jones?
just told him what we just went through as far as the settings for the amperage and the voltage and the setup of the connections and hosing and, yeah.
Okay, well, there's a little more to it than that, right? You go through the tubes twice, right?
Well, yes.
Okay, at least they did it real water, right?
Yes.
When you were doing your experiments, did you go through twice?
Yes.
Okay, so the intent was to go through twice, right?
Yes.
So you would juice, right? That's the first step. The second step, you
Electrolyte.
electrolyze it twice, right?
Yes.
Okay. And we've been informed that you would run 300 gallons through, throw half of it away and get 150 gallons, and then put the other 150 through, throw half of it away and get 75 gallons, right?
I didn't have any involvement with that setup, but the quantities are fine, yes.
Okay, but that was what you intended, that they would, whatever they started with, they would cut it down to 1/4 by running it through twice, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, and the reason you do it twice is so you get more higher negative charge, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we have heard the term concentrate or E2 concentrate, correct?
Yes.
What does E2 mean?
I don't know, they came up with that.
Okay, does that mean energy twice?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know how I came up with that.
And concentrate, was that the term you used?
Yes.
And why did you call it concentrate?
Well, we added it to the purified water.
Right, so the concentrate, you see that, you've seen that before, right? See this?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's
I'm
our
young,
water
Doug.
concentrate, right?
Okay, yes.
Right. You've seen these before, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the idea was to make concentrate, yes?
Yes.
And then you would add it to purified water, right?
Yes.
And the objective you said was negative 120, right?
Yes.
That's the final product. What you give people to drink, you want to negative 120.
Yes.
That's you, the inventor. That was your intent, right?
Yes.
And if I told you that they changed the objective to sell water that was negative 225 to 250, is that news to you?
Yes.
So you didn't know that they had doubled your intended negative until right now?
I don't know what they did, no.
Okay. But if they were trying to do negative 225 or negative 250, that's twice as much negative as you intended, right?
More than, yes.
Okay. And what would be the result of doubling the negative? mean, what impact would that have?
I don't know. I'd be speculating.
Okay, well, let's not speculate. Okay. Now, you have seen the results from the FDA when they tested this concentrate, correct?
For my deposition?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you know that they found hydrazine in 3 different bottles of concentrate, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You told me, I don't understand, but yes.
Okay. And prior to your deposition, you didn't know what hydrazine was, did you?
No.
And if you sit here today, you still don't know what hydrazine is, right?
I looked at it, it's a.
Hydrazine causes, hydrazine is a rocket fuel, right?
Yes.
Causes acute liver failure, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And if hydrazine was in this product, it shouldn't have been in the product.
No.
No?
No, it
You
should
agree
not.
with me? Correct, okay. All right. Now, I talked about you doing testing. After you sold the product to Real Water, do you know whether they did any safety tests for you?
All I recall is they had the same thing I mentioned before. They had to do testing for the county or for the health district or whatever it was. I wasn't involved with that.
And those are bacteria tests, right?
I'm not sure what all that involved.
Okay. Would you agree with me that when you bring a brand new product to the market, that there should be some sort of safety testing?
Yes.
But there was none in this case.
Well, I think there was there had to be with the health district and all of that. What I just
Do you
said,
think the health district did safety tests on this product?
those were the requirements, weren't they, for drinking water or?
Okay, let's leave the health district aside for now. We'll come
Okay.
back to it. You're not aware of any other safety tests done by anybody?
No.
So you assume that the health district did the safety test that the company should have done. Is that what you're saying?
I think they were ongoing, they had to.
There's
There's a requirement, they had to do continuous testing, I recall that.
to test the water for bacteria. That's the
Okay.
requirement, right?
All right, I'm not familiar with what the requirements of the testing they did was.
So as far as you know, no one did any safety tests before this product was released to the public, right?
No,
I'm correct.
you're correct.
Okay, Shane, can I have the 4-step slide just so we're clear here? Okay, here's real water. So
Wait, so what is this?
this is just a demonstrative.
Okay.
So we run it through once and juice it, electrolyze it, right? Right?
Yes.
And then we run it through again and we electrolyze it again, right?
Yes.
And then you're supposed to take the concentrate and mix it with purified water,
Yes.
right? And then we use an orb meter to measure negative orb, right?
Yes.
And you were trying you thought it was gonna be 120, but you said it should be 120, negative 120.
Yes.
And they may have been trying for negative 225, but you don't know about that.
I don't.
But you do know they were using the orb meter to measure negative for
I
negative.
don't know what they were doing.
Okay. Was it the case that if they measured the negative orb and it didn't reach the desired level, that they were supposed to add more concentrate?
I don't know what they were doing.
Foundation.
What was your intent?
Foundation, so it doesn't have anything to do with what they were doing for no.
Here, let me try
Wait, you responded, you didn't know.
Okay. When you trained Lane Jones in concentrate, correct?
Yes.
You told him to take the concentrate and mix it with water to make the final product, right?
Yes.
And you instructed him how to use the orb meter at that time, right?
Probably, yes.
Okay, and when you told him to use the orb meter, if it wasn't negative enough, he was supposed to put more concentrate in, right?
Objection.
Well,
That's an answer.
Say again?
Oh, wait, hold on, I don't think we have a response yet. You don't, go ahead, I'm waiting for that.
You want it again?
Would you ask that again? Yes,
Okay.
please.
You're training Blaine Jones how to make the water, right? And the fourth step here, you use the ort meter to measure the negative reading, right?
Yes,
And when you do that, if it's not negative enough, you're supposed to add more concentrate, correct?
the testing, I'm speaking for myself, not for real water, okay?
Okay.
You can test the pH, and you can test the ort, and you can test the total dissolved solvents,
Okay.
okay? So I don't know how to answer your question because I don't know what they were doing.
Okay. Yeah.
I showed them all of those 3 instruments to test.
You
They're
showed them
aware
how
of
to
them.
use the ort meter, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what ort means?
Oxidation reduction potential.
Okay. And what type of ort meter did you show them to use?
Well, the one I was using at that time was a Milwaukee.
Okay, it'd be something that looked like this.
Yes, that's a later version. The first one's when I, way back when, 12 years ago, it was green.
So you showed them using.
But that's the later edition, yeah.
Okay, great. And I believe you had used Hanna and Milwaukee ort meters prior to this time?
I don't know if they used Hanna, but
I'm not talking about them, I'm talking about you.
yes, I did.
Okay, you used Hanna ort meters before, right?
Yes,
And there's also Milwaukee ort meters.
yes.
Okay, why did you give them a Milwaukee rather than a Hanna?
Well, it's one I was using mostly.
Okay, was price a consideration?
No,
Okay.
the Hanna instrument was just a small, you stick it in your pocket thing, and it would measure 2 or 3 functions.
Okay,
But it wasn't, I don't,
but you told them to use the Milwaukee.
that's the one I was instructing them, yes.
Okay, and so now we're about 2010, right?
Okay,
How long have you been using the ort meters prior to 2010?
from the time frame we've discussed, I'd say 2 to 3 years.
Okay, and you had used ort meters thousands of times before 2010, hundreds of times, what?
Yeah, yes.
You can't say yes to both, you gotta choose hundreds of thousands, okay?
Ah,
Hundreds? Let's
okay,
say
hundreds of
Okay.
times,
Hundreds of times you'd use ort meters, right?
yes,
And usually you were using the Milwaukee ort meter,
yes,
you had one at home yourself,
yes.
and you got it from your friend in Boulder City? Where'd you get the ort meter from?
I ordered it.
Okay, did you have a friend in Boulder City that knew something about equipment?
Are you speaking about, who are you speaking of?
Did you have a friend, okay, try again. You think you ordered the ort meter, right?
I think I did, yeah.
And when we're doing all these experiments, you use the ort meter every time, right? When you were developing the product.
Yes, I used it a lot, hundreds of times, yes.
Okay, so you used it hundreds of times. And did you have more than one ort meter?
Yes, because I had the Hanna and that measured out ort also.
Okay. And when you use an ort meter, you take it out of the box, put the battery in, put the meter on, and good to go, right?
They made some solutions, I didn't use them that often, but they made some testing solutions that you can check it.
To check, to make sure.
Yeah,
Okay. How about starting, the first time you use it?
say again?
You just use it out of the box?
I assume so.
I'm asking what you did.
Well, I assume I did out of the box, yes.
In other words, you didn't take it and do some kind of elaborate process to get it ready to be used the first time?
No,
Okay. You just took it out of the box and started using it?
yes,
And that was for positive and negative, right?
yes.
Okay. And did you ever talk to anyone from Milwaukee? You?
I don't remember.
Did anyone ever indicate to you that an work meter might give inconsistent readings for negative measurements? Anyone ever tell you that?
No.
Okay. So if that's true, this is.
There's variations in it. I don't want to state this wrongly.
Okay.
It varied at times, yeah. You have to keep it clean.
Right.
You have to keep the tip soaked at all times and.
And you soaked it in water, right?
Yes,
Okay. And that's so the tip of the probe doesn't dry out, right?
yes, plus it would, leak out something that was in there.
And no one ever told you you had to dip the probe in vinegar for 5 days before you used it the first time?
I don't remember. There were different solutions you could do different things with.
That's not something you ever remember doing?
Vinegar?
Right.
No.
And what I'm talking about is, here, let's get the tip here. This is platinum, do you know that one right there? The tip
is platinum?
Did you know that?
I think I remember that.
Okay. And no one ever told you you had to put this in vinegar for 5 days before you could use it the first time?
Not that I remember.
Okay. You didn't do that, did you?
I don't think so.
Didn't train Blaine Jones to do that, did you?
I don't think so.
And when you take an orb measurement, how long does it typically take you to get the measurement? 10 seconds, 12 seconds, 15?
Depends on the solutions, but you should probably wait a minute or two, I think.
Okay.
Sometimes it creeps up for quite a while.
Okay, but you're not gonna wait hours or days, are you?
No,
Because that would be impractical to hold something and measure.
no,
No way you can do hours or days, right?
no.
Has anyone ever suggested to you that the Milwaukee orb meter doesn't work unless you hold it in there for hours and days? Anyone ever told you that?
No.
Okay. All right. Now, you know a man named Casey Aiken?
Is that the kid that was working at the 5-gallon plant?
Right. Kid working.
I met him
Okay.
about 3 or 4 times, yes.
Okay, after there were reports about lots and lots of people getting acute liver failure, right?
I didn't know anything about that, no.
Okay, well, you knew something was going on, right?
Eventually,
Okay, well, isn't it true that you and Mr. Jones, referring to Brent Jones, had a conversation about what the potential problem was?
no.
That's not true. Brent Jones didn't tell you that Casey had put too much concentrate in a batch or two?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. I don't know if it was Brent or who, but yes.
Okay. At some point in time, someone told you that a real water employee had added too much concentrate,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And that happened more than once? Remember that? Don't remember that?
No.
Okay. And now do you remember who told you that? Let me try to help you.
Well, it may have been Brent, I don't know.
You took your deposition in May 2021.
Okay.
Right? And you remember a couple days before your deposition, you had a meeting with Brent and Blaine Jones, right?
Okay,
Remember that?
yes,
Okay.
basically, yes.
And at that meeting, they told you that there was a screw up, that
Yes.
someone added more concentrate.
Thank
right?
you, yes,
Okay.
got it,
And they said that that person was Casey, right?
yes.
And they said that had happened more than once, right?
That I don't remember,
You don't remember that part?
no.
Okay. And do you remember a discussion about how the ore meter wasn't working properly that day?
No.
A little bit, remember a little bit of that?
Objection, ask and answer.
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
No, I don't remember that. Then it was, oh, well, maybe you remember a little bit.
Let me try it differently, sir. Do you remember any discussion as to what caused Casey to add more concentrate? I'm not trying to badger you.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out how to answer you also.
If you don't remember, just say you don't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay. Had you met Casey before?
No.
Now, you said you used the ORT meter for approximately 3 years before you developed the product, right?
Yes.
Remember that the gentleman that sold you the tubes actually showed you an ORT meter for the first time?
Who is the friend in Boulder City?
I think his name was Fisher. Does that help?
No.
You have a doctor friend in Boulder City that...
There was a gentleman by the name of Jim Carter.
There you go.
In
Jim Carter.
Okay.
Okay.
Boulder City.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So Mr. Carter...
He was the first one to ever introduce me to ORT meter, if I recall correctly.
And when was that?
Oh, I don't.
It was before, we're talking 80s?
I think
90s?
I was doing the fuel catalyst back then.
So it was way back.
Way back.
Okay. And did he introduce you to a Milwaukee, a Hanna, or do you remember? And when he introduced it to you, he just showed you, here's a meter, this is what it does?
I don't remember. We're talking close to 20 years ago, probably.
Right. Let me show you a portion of a YouTube video. Okay, it's Blaine Jones measuring negative ORT.
Okay.
Okay, and I just want you to focus on the time it takes for him to get to negative 180. Okay, just solely the time.
Take your E2 concentrate, real water concentrate, and you want to tell them to watch this part. Pay attention to the color of the water that you're going to be adding it to, and also the ORT meter. It's going to change. It's going to have a little negative reading on the side there to switch from the positive to the negative. And you want to have them pay attention to this because this is the powerful, interesting part of the product demonstration. So you just take some of that, squirt it in to the solution. And you can see that color change and that negative charge on the probe now, or on the meter now. And that right there is a powerful demonstration.
Okay, you see we're at negative 178, right? Yes?
Yes.
And you see it took us 13.45 seconds?
Okay.
Okay, does that refresh your recollection how long it takes an ORT meter to take a negative reading?
Yes, but I've seen it vary to where it takes longer too, but that was a pretty good hit we put in there.
Okay, so is that about the average time? 15 seconds, 20 seconds? I know you said it can take longer, but was this the typical time?
Yes.
Now, he's at negative 178. You see that on the meter?
Yes.
And so your intent was it only be negative 120, right?
Yes.
So for whatever reason, they're going above what you, the inventor, intended, right?
Yes. I've never seen this video before.
That's Blaine Jones, though.
Yes.
Right, you know Blaine?
Oh, yes.
Consider him a friend.
Yes.
Now, I think I asked this. Milwaukee or any other source didn't tell you it would take hours or days to get a negative ORT meter, right?
No.
Okay, let me show you a video from a Milwaukee employee. Okay, can we have that, Shane?
In other words, a Kangen water customer can take it out of the box and start measuring negative orb of Kangen water, correct?
They can, but to get a negative reading, it's a slow process without oxidizing the probe. So in other words, it will read negative RP, but it's going to take a long time to get that negative reading they're looking for without oxidizing the probe.
And by a long time, you're talking about 4 or 5 days.
I don't have a specific time out of the box of how long it would take to read negative ORP to the degree of measuring Kangen water. But it will read negative ORP out of the box. It just takes a lot longer to get that read.
And how much longer? Are we talking
I don't know.
hours, days, months? What are we talking?
Hours to days is what I would say.
So is this the first time anyone's informed you that it would take hours to days to get a negative reading with this meter?
That's the first time, yes.
Do you think information like that should have been in the product instructions?
Objection, calls for an expert opinion.
Let me ask you differently, Ron. If that type of information had been in the product instructions, would you have heeded it? Would you have followed it?
I don't know, I've never witnessed anything even close to that in terms of that, those time frames that you're talking about.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Marlowe.
Ross, would you like to take a quick break?
That's a yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with the trial, or to read, watch, or listen to any report of or commentary from any persons connected with this case, or by any medium of information, including the communications, newspaper, television, radio, social media. And remember not to form or express any opinion on any subject connected with this trial until the cause is finally submitted to you. Okay, let's take 15.
All rise to the portion of the jury.